Young survivors of the Florida school shooting have gathered at a massive rally to demand changes to the nation's gun laws. Thousands joined the protest on Saturday at the federal courthouse in Fort Lauderdale, some 25 miles from where 17 people were shot and killed Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School this week. Students from the high school spoke passionately during the rally, pleading with lawmakers to change the nation's gun laws. One teen, Emma Gonzalez, angrily criticized politicians who take campaign contributions from the National Rifle Association and challenged them to stop taking money. "We will be the last mass shooting," said Gonzalez, a senior at the high school who took cover on the floor of the auditorium as a shooter rampaged through the building. She directly addressed President Donald Trump, reading out his tweet in response to the shooting and demanding to know how much the NRA had donated to his campaign. During the presidential election, the gun owners' rights group pumped $31 million into ads supporting Trump and attacking his Democratic rival. Hillary Clinton scrolled down for video. Emergency responders evacuate students sheltering in an auditorium. Tom Daley seen. For first time since announcing he is to become a dad, heated row over parking space leads to thugs smashing car window. Graphic. Bloodied body inside Florida school after shooting. SWAT team evacuates classroom after Florida shooting. National Express. Driver filmed trying to drag passenger off bus. Angela Merkel slams the British decision to quit the EU. SWAT team searches shooting school as students cower in terror. He's always been very violent. Classmates of the Florida shooter. Trump had affair with Playboy playmate Karen McDougal. Man pulled out of a sewer after getting stuck for 3 days. Jen laugh off joke about her relationship days before breakup. Gonzalez also said adults who knew that the shooter was mentally ill should have done more to prevent him from having a weapon. "We need to pay attention to the fact that this isn't just a mental health issue," Gonzalez said at the rally. "He wouldn't have been able to kill that many people with a knife. They say a good guy stops a good guy with a gun. We call BS." Gonzalez said that his kids don't know what we're talking about, that we're too young to understand how the government works. We call BS. Another senior at the school, Delaney Tarr, told the crowd, "My innocence, our innocence has been taken away from us. I am 17, but in a matter of days I have aged decades." Senior David Hogg, 18, also spoke out at the rally, saying, "Thank you for your prayers and condolences, but that is not enough. We've been hearing the same thing again and again, and same thing continues to happen. We say stop it today." Hogg said, "No more guns. No more guns." The crowd began chanting at points. Other speakers demanded a ban on assault weapons. Shooter Nicholas Cruz used an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle that he purchased legally a year ago to kill 17 on Wednesday. Emergency responders evacuate students sheltering in an auditorium. He's always been very violent. Classmates of the Florida shooter. Trump had affair with Playboy playmate Karen McDougal. Man pulled out of a sewer after getting stuck for 3 days. Jen laughs off joke about her relationship days before breakup. Trump visits victims of Florida shooting at hospital. Trump arrives in Florida amid Mueller developments. Shocking footage emerges of a mass brawl on board a cruise ship. Staff attempt to break up scuffle aboard Carnival Legend cruise ship. 2 police officers mowed down by a speeding car at RBT site. Asta delivery driver plows into mom's car and drives off. Community turns out for first funeral of school shooting victim. Ears. This speech from Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School student Emma Gonzalez at an anti-gun rally happening today in Fort Lauderdale. https tco-npdavw https tco-hgewzy4cxf https tco-gssmgczuh. Students who survived the shooting at Stoneman have been speaking out loudly in the days since the massacre on Wednesday. Hogg urged policymakers take a look in the mirror and take some action in an interview just 1 day after the shooting. "Ideas are great, but without action, ideas stay idea and children die," added the teen, whose articulate common-sense response to the shooting has won him fans on Twitter. Hogg was in his AP Environmental Science class when he heard a gunshot ring out at around 2:30 p.m. The high schooler, a news director of the student TV station, said he initially suspected it could be a drill. So when the fire alarm rang, he and his classmates dutifully filed out. That's when he saw a flood of kids running in the opposite direction. So I started running with the herd, and we're actually running towards the freshman building, he told CNN. And thank God a janitor stopped us. That's not acceptable, the very articulate 18-year-old said. That's not something that should happen in this country, especially when we're going to school. It's something that we really need to take a look at. Our policymakers and some people need to look in the mirror and take some action. Emergency responders evacuate students sheltering in an auditorium. Tom Daley seen for first time since announcing he is to become a dad. Heated row over parking space leads to thugs smashing car window. Graphic bloodied body inside Florida school after shooting. SWAT team evacuates classroom after Florida shooting. National Express driver filmed trying to drag passenger off bus. Angela Merkel slams the British decision to quit the EU. SWAT team searches shooting school. As students cower in terror, he's always been very violent. Classmates of the Florida shooter. Trump had affair with Playboy playmate Karen McDougal. Man pulled out of a sewer after getting stuck for 3 days. Jen laughs off joke about her relationship days before breakup. Meanwhile, state lawmakers in Florida have just 3 weeks left in their annual 60-day session and normally are trying to wrap up work on a new state budget in the final days. But the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland has revived an ongoing legislative debate about how to respond to gun violence. Democrats want the legislature to take up gun control bills that have languished again this year. But Republican legislative leaders are talking about boosting mental health programs in Florida's public schools as well as considering measures that would bolster safety on school campuses. Governor Rick Scott has said he plans to talk to legislative leaders in the coming week about what could be done to make it harder for people who are mentally ill to purchase a gun. Earlier in the weekend, placards inspired by 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri were driven around Miami to put pressure on its Republican senator after the high school massacre this week in Florida. The signs reading "Slaughtered in School" and "Still No Gun Control. How come?" Marco Rubio echoed the Oscar-nominated film where a mother challenges authorities over justice for her daughter who was raped and murdered. The protest was organized by activist group Avias, which highlighted the campaign donations Mr. Rubio has accepted from gun advocates the National Rifle Association (NRA). Over his legislative career, Rubio has been the beneficiary of $3,303,355 in campaign spending by the NRA, according to the LA Times.
Where the freaks at?